Moksha, who also just taught me how to make my screen full screen, is a designer and performing artist from Bombay, India. Her work is intuitive and thoughtful, translating the complex into clear. She has worked with brands such as the Weather Channel, IBM, Ogilvy, Mapbox, and Jeep, and is currently a senior product designer at MyFitnessPal. Rooted in her Indian heritage, yet accessible to global audiences, her performing act bridges cultures and disciplines. Moksha's talk will explore how she innovated in the fields of design and dance as she made her way from India to the US and her journey as an immigrant navigating both disciplines in 2 countries. All you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me here today. I've been affiliated with Creative Mornings for almost 10 years. So it feels really surreal to go from attending so many great talks to speaking at one. Shout out to Molly and the Urban Hive for this opportunity. I'm so happy to end the year on a positive note, and I don't know about y'all, but I'm excited for this year to end. So just gonna say that. So as creative people, we continually want to change and move forward. This is the first thing that struck me when I was asked to speak on the theme innovation. To me, innovation is the start of something new. We're constantly evolving, changing, and developing into more complex versions of ourselves. All of us have innovated in different ways to get to where we are today, and this is my story. My journey began in India, in the colorful, bustling island of Bombay. I know the official term is Mumbai, but it's always going to be Bombay to me. My life looked a little different back then. I spent most of my time hanging out of local trains, rushing to make it to a college lecture or a party, depending on the time of the day. I consumed way too much chai, and also PSA, it's not chai tea, it's chai. If you say chai tea, that's like saying tea. Please stop saying it. I also spent a lot of my time sitting at the iconic Marine Drive pictured right there, staring at the ocean and dreaming of where it could take me one day. But I knew that whatever I was going to be doing, it was going to be in the creative arts, which is why you'll see this talk divided into 2 parts, which is dance and design. I'm going to start with design. So my father, that handsome guy right there, he was a visionary graphic designer back in the 70s in Mumbai. In 1976, 2 of his hand-drawn posters on women's equality, and that's one right there pictured, they were showcased at the 6th Warsaw Poster Biennale in Poland. The Biennale has more than 3,100 submissions from 47 countries, making it one of the largest poster competitions of its time. So like visionary designers like Saul Bass and Milton Glaser had their work showcased there along with my dad, who did not tell me about this. I found out about it. I'm still amazed at how he did the entire thing by hand. He ran a very successful ad agency with my mom for over 40 years, and he was constantly innovating in the fields of publication design, art direction, branding, and exhibition design. He was always my biggest inspiration, my passion for creativity at a very young age when I looked like a dumpling, and he believed in innovating before it was cool. So show of hands, how many of you guys remember or have used CorelDRAW? Shout out for the 3 people in the audience. I remember starting my design career with that baby, and little did I know it was the beginning of a very serious long-term relationship with design softwares. I spent a large chunk of my design career in India working as a graphic designer, as well as an illustrator or a visual designer, whatever you want to call it. CorelDRAW and Adobe were my biggest friends. My first big job was actually at an ad agency called Ogilvy, which was great because I did get to work on some really cool campaigns, like the one for Maharashtra Tourism. I also worked as a freelance illustrator. The illustration right here in the middle, I did that for a client in London who wanted caricatures of their food critics for a restaurant's opening night. But I did feel like something was missing. I couldn't put my finger on it. I think the best way to describe it would be an itch to keep innovating in this field, but I wanted to do something else. So I decided I'm going to take my career to maybe a global stage and immerse myself in a new culture. It was that time where my body was craving for something new. So I thought, let's shake things up, get on the longest plane ride of my life, and move to the other side of the world. Maybe I'll find what I'm looking for there. So I found myself in Atlanta, where I enrolled for an MFA in graphic design at the Savannah College of Art and Design, or as the cool kids call it, SCAD. Soon after, I overcame the initial shock of having to choose from aisles of bread. And in my defense, in India, we have two types, white and brown. The reality of graduate school hit me. Don't let my smile in these pictures fool you. I was constantly sleep deprived, and none of my immigration paperwork is actually pictured here for good reasons. But jokes aside, I really, really enjoyed what I was learning because it was very different to what I learned back home. I also got to attend some pretty cool lectures, like the one time Debbie Millman interviewed Paula Scher just down the street from my school. But what really inspired me was a class called Interface Design, which is also pictured there. I remember my professor on day one, she came over to me and she said, "You're never gonna look at any app or website the same again." And man, she was right. Just ask my husband anytime we have to order something from Uber Eats, it's bad. But thankfully, I was able to turn this obsession into a career. Since an MFA is a terminal degree, it involves a thesis portion, which is usually completed in the final year. This is one of the hardest things I've ever had to go through, because right before I started my thesis, I found out that my father was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. Numb, I remember getting on the first flight back to India, and I spent my summer semester with him as he started his chemotherapy. While I was sitting with him in the hospital during his sessions, I came up with the idea of Looking Up. Looking Up is a healthcare app that stresses the importance of positivity in really challenging times. It creates a fluid ecosystem of happiness between a patient, a family, and a caregiver, and involved features like gratitude journaling, games, and other motivational elements. Looking Up became my thesis. Reflecting on that year, I'm reminded of this quote by John Green: "The darkest nights produce the brightest stars." Dad did not live to see me finish my thesis, but he was present with me in spirit at graduation when I stood and spoke about how I kept innovating at his name. Apart from naming me a very embarrassing title, which y'all are going to see on the next slide, SCAD also got innovative and created a video of my work, which they displayed, and it now lives on my website and really cut my portfolio in half. Shout out to the SCAD's marketing team that made my work look a lot cooler than it was. So now anyone here can agree it's insanely difficult to land a job in corporate America. Now throw in being an immigrant, having to ask for visa sponsorship, and you've got yourself actual hell. I remember applying to over 100 companies. I actually have an Excel sheet if anyone's like, really, 100? And getting ghosted by pretty much all of them. So I had to get innovative. So I asked one of my friends in the film department to record my thesis presentation, and I shamelessly posted it on LinkedIn. Something amazing happened. The head of design at the Weather Channel, she liked the post. She didn't comment, but she liked it. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to slide into her DMs. I'm going to be as cheesy as possible and see where it goes. Not only did she respond within the same day, receipt right there, she also asked me if I was looking for a job. So when I graduated, I started working straight at the Weather Channel, and this only worked because of sliding into someone's DM. When I joined the Weather Channel, I was really eager to get started, right? In a few months, bam, COVID. Tiger King, Squid Game took over our lives. Everyone started wiping their groceries down. We had no choice but to get innovative at that point. But around this time, I got put on this squad that formed overnight to create a COVID case tracking hub across all Weather Channel products, which is the app and the website. It was groundbreaking at the time because it provided timely location-based specific info about COVID cases, not only in our community, but all the way down to the county level. It was just one of those projects where we were figuring it out as we went, so we had no choice but to get innovative. I honestly believe this was innovation at its best, and it was one of the most challenging but rewarding career projects of my time. The hub helped provide some sense of clarity and information in very uncertain times. especially when there was so much misinformation out there. And we also got to collaborate with InVision, RIP InVision, but at the time, we got to collaborate with them to make all of our prototypes, and they featured us in their newsletter, which was pretty cool. Another project that I worked on in the innovative space was our health and wellness hub. The goal of this project was to connect the dots between weather and wellness using weather science, AI, and innovative features like graphs, to track flu cases in your area or the level of UV index, and this would just enable you to live well and make an impact. I got the opportunity to innovate with brands like Daikin, CVS, and we had a number of competitors lurking in the weather space, so we realized we got to do something a little different to stand out, and this really helped put us there. I worked with IBM for almost 6 years and on many other projects that I could not picture here. But I just cannot stress the importance of building a strong community in your field. I'm grateful for not just the design team, but every meteorologist and data scientist I worked with. But that itch to innovate kicked up again. I had been staring at the same app for too long. I'd seen way too many iterations of it, as a lot of you guys are familiar in the product design space. And it was just time for a change. Or like I said earlier, I needed the start of something new. So that's when I decided, I make this joke, anytime I need to do something new, I just move west. I just keep moving further and further west. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna do a cross-country move and land up here. And now I moved to SAC this year, actually. And around the same time I made this move, I actually got offered a job at MyFitnessPal as a senior product designer. It felt like the perfect fit for me, as you're all gonna see, because it combined my passion for health and nutrition with design. And in just this 1 year, I've had the opportunity to work on some pretty innovative projects, like the time we reskinned our search experience so it's easier for y'all to log your food, or revamped our meal scan experience so it can magically scan your plate of food. But my personal favorite is that one right there on the extreme right. We created something called a daily reflection card. It's AI-powered, and it provides personalized insights based on how users feel about their nutrition. So we basically made AI more conversational and organic to our user, as we guided them towards healthier habits through personalized contextual recommendations. I'm gonna end the design portion of this talk with a quote by one of my favorite designers, Paul Rand. "Everything is design." To me, that means that design isn't limited to graphics or products, it shapes every experience. It takes on an even deeper meaning when you move from one country to another, like I did. New perspective fuels innovation. When you've lived inside multiple designs of the same world, you're less attached to the way things are done and more fluent in imagining alternatives. Moving between countries trained me to adapt, translate, and recombine ideas across contexts, turning difference into insight and innovation into a natural response to change. Switching gears to another field I like to refer to as my side hustle, dance. As you can see from this photo, the apple does not fall far from the tree. That's my mom right there. She is a professional dancer. She introduced me to this beautiful dance form when I was only 5 years. What is Bharatanatyam? It is an ancient Indian classical dance form. It originated in the southern state of Tamil Nadu. And it's known for its spiritual themes, precise footwork, geometric postures, which I like to call the ultimate squat, expressive hand gestures, or mudras, and storytelling rooted in Hindu mythology, combining pure dance with expressive motion. I started training in this when I was just 5 years old, and my training was very strict and traditional. Think India's equivalent to ballet. I thought there was just one way to perform, because that's all I knew from a very young age. Simultaneously, I began practicing yoga. Originating in ancient India, traditional yoga is a physical, mental, and spiritual discipline aimed at controlling the body and calming the mind with an emphasis on meditation, breath work, and asanas. It largely helped me control my breathing technique during performing. So both these disciplines allowed me to explore dance as a side hustle, but admittedly, I did not have proper access or resources to cross-train. So after moving to the States, I realized I needed to figure this out if I wanted to extend this career. I finally believe what every fitness coach has constantly said, because I got introduced to the world of contortion. Because I went online, I looked for coaches to help me improve my flexibility and range of motion, and that's when I came across a circus teacher in Oakland who suggested I take her intro class online just for basic conditioning. Before I knew it, she advanced me to something called Contortion 1. I was like, what is that? Contortion is a Mongolian discipline involving extreme flexibility where performers bend their bodies into unusual shapes. So all I wanted was to stop knee pain, and now she has me going into chin stands. I finally believe all these fitness coaches, It's cheesy, but it's kind of true. Contortion reminded me that my body is capable of anything I can put my mind to. It's just a mind game, trust me. Even when it's this backbend warm-up routine in my practice, which seemed insane at first, but it's become one of my signature moves, both at parties and at shows. I began to see common themes emerge from these three art forms: flexibility, strength, balance, breath control, and discipline. I suddenly realized that I had unknowingly innovated to come up with my own style, where I blended Bharatanatyam's expressiveness, contortion's extreme lines, and yoga's breath-centered discipline into a fluid, powerful movement language. Before I knew it, I developed my own style, which, by the way, still doesn't have a name. So if anyone has any ideas better than Flexi-Natyam after this, please hit me up after the talk, because I got nothing. Before I knew it, I started actually booking shows. And this only happened because I got innovative and came up with something that set me apart from other performers. Pictured here is one of my best shows till date. I was invited by the Atlanta chapter of Creative Mornings to be the opener before the Speaker of the Month, and the theme was touch. I remember getting very innovative and choreographing a piece titled Brahma's Dance, which showed how in Hindu mythology, the entire universe is said to have started from Lord Brahma's touch. This was taken at a Cherry Blossom Festival, because that's another place that I often get invited to perform at events and festivals. It's always one of my favorite places to go perform at. I've also been performing at weddings. It's so special to be part of someone's big day. And even at the Crocker Art Museum, which was earlier this summer. It was my first show in SAC. I really hope it's not my last. I believe that community fuels innovation. None of my shows would have been possible without these lovely folks and so many others who are not pictured here. My new movement style helped bridge cultures and disciplines and modernized my art to the extent that it could be appreciated by those who are not familiar with it. If I hadn't innovated, I couldn't have made my act accessible to an international audience. So I found that design and dance actually have a lot of overlap. They both are human-centered experiences, whether it's user testing or building contacts for a show. Both involve iteration and refinement, whether it's prototyping or choreographing a new piece. Both involve creative problem solving, making a user flow more seamless or modifying my costume so it can work for the crazy stuff I've started doing. Strong sense of composition, making sure elements work together harmoniously. And an embodied understanding of movement and flow, whether it's visual hierarchy on a screen or blending from one dance move to another. So I'm going to leave you all with this. There are 3 clear takeaways on how I feel innovation can help you win in life. It turns constraints into advantages. So when resources, time, or options are limited, innovative thinking helps you reframe the problem and find paths that others often overlook. Innovation keeps you adaptable and not replaceable. Looking at you, AI. Life changes fast, skills, careers, and circumstances evolve. Being innovative means you can pivot, learn, and stay relevant instead of getting stuck. And last but not the least, innovation creates opportunities instead of waiting for them. If I hadn't slid into those DMs, I don't think I would be where I am today. Innovative people, they don't wait for permission or perfect conditions. They experiment, build, and shape their own chances. So I'm just going to leave you with this one last quote. Great innovation only happens when people aren't afraid to do things differently, said by George Cantor. So the next time you think you can't do something, just remember there's a girl from India who moved all the way across the world and is now working on Figma in a Scorpion. Thank you, or as we say in Hindi, dhanyavad.